But that Mike McDaniel sound, Dolphins head coach. Jake, can you play that again, actually? Because it sounds insane what he was saying towards the end. This is Mike McDaniel talking about the frustrations of the Jalen Ramsey trade rumors and when that's going to happen and how he feels about the whole situation.
I don't give a about what I feel. My job is to react and control my controllables and make sure that people are moving in one direction appropriately. Business is business. The opportunity that business does provide in the off season is a rep to the team about handling noise. What do I define noise as? Things that don't have to do with what actually you're there to do and you should be focused on doing because you'll be held accountable to do.
What in the world is that, Jared? We're controlling the controllables. Business is business. We're trying to block out the noise. What's noise? Noise is things that have to do with stuff that's not what you have to do. What? This man is just saying words. This is where Mike McDaniel. This is the guy that Coach Capri, as Mark Schlereth has called him here on You Better You Bet. This is the guy that had the sunglasses, drives the nice car, was on Hard Knocks, the in-season version, Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky, running to the locker room at halftime, and now he's controlling the controllables. That's what we're at right now in 2025. It sounds like a man that knows the seat is hot as hell down there on South Beach. That's not a good situation in Miami, and it feels like a team that is teetering towards kind of blowing up and heading into a next chapter as opposed to rallying the troops with this McDaniel, Tua, Tyreek Hill version of the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, it's June 10th. By the way, happy birthday to my sister, June 10th.
Hey, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jordana. Love you. I will go out on a limb right now and say Mike McDaniel will be the first coach fired in the NFL this year. That's just the vibe I get. I think calling that a word salad would be disrespectful to lettuce. I honestly do. I don't know what else you really could call that. I don't give a bleep about how I feel. I want to control my controllables. How you feel is something you can control, by the way, Mike. And I understand the psychology, and I'm big into the spirituality these days. Big part of my, my move out here. I'm convinced the desert has healing powers. I won't go down that road. But what I will say is when you, I'm sure you're going to follow up on that one later, bud.
No, you're good with that. I was like, I'm sure that has to do with maybe his Rogan pod, or I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you never know these days what's going to come out of my mouth. That's why you guys keep asking me back on the show. I like Mike's approach. Control what you can control. I get that. But how you feel and how you react is the only thing that you can control. Here's what you can't control. Whatever happens outside, whatever questions you get asked, whatever absurd drama this player's getting into or this team is trying to trade this player, that is not in your control, Mike. The only thing that is in your control is how you react to it and how you respond to it. That is literally the only part of this equation that you can control. So to go off on this tangent, I don't give a bleep how I feel, it makes it seem like there's something else happening under the surface that we can't see behind the scenes, in the locker room, in the negotiation room, wherever, that is rubbing you the wrong way. And then you feel the need to lash out. To me, the way I view Mike is he's kind of a cool customer and nothing gets under his skin. He sounded like something's getting under his skin. When you start cursing and bleeping this and bleeping that and saying, I don't give a bleep how I feel, it sounds like something is going on. Again, that we're not privy to, that is kind of pushing him towards this cliff of, I don't want to call it an outburst, but it was a very off-putting answer. He didn't really say anything, and he sounded very angry and vindictive in the way that he said it, his tone. So I don't know what the heck's going on, but I do know, Mike, you can control how you feel. It's actually the only thing that you can control.
I'll tell you what it sounds like. It sounds like a guy who does care how he feels. That's what it sounds like. He can tell me he doesn't care. I think he cares 100%. He's like, I don't give a damn how I feel, or I don't give a bleep how I feel. It's like, no, you care. You care, buddy. You're not getting that one past us here. But is there a chance? Because the vibes in Miami do not seem like they're really good. Their win total's at 8.5 right now at BetMGM. Is there a chance when you look at this team, this Dolphins team, that I mean, shoot, this time last year I thought could be a potential AFC East winner and be a team that is in the conversation for being like a top 2, top 3 seed. And here we are now talking about Mike McDaniel potentially first coach fired. Do you think the Dolphins are the 4th best team in the AFC East? Like,
Ooh.
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Say what you will about the New York Jets. Like, Justin Fields is not a good quarterback. Tua is clearly better than him. But the vibes are at least good at Jets camp. Like, you know what? Like they got 2 guys in Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner who want contracts and have been there every single day of the offseason activities. OTAs, they're there at mini camp. Like, the vibes at least are a lot better. They're buying into what Aaron Glenn is selling. I don't know if those Dolphins guys are buying into what Mike McDaniel is selling. And if the season gets off to a rocky start, this thing can really get off the rails to where you might be right with the prediction that you just gave here on June 10th that Mike McDaniel is the first coach fired. I think there's some last place vibes with the Miami Dolphins right now.
And we'll get it right out of the gate. If they go into Indy week 1 and lose that game to Daniel Stinkin' Jones, and I don't know if it's going to be Daniel Jones, it might be Richardson, but right now I would say there's a lot of uncertainty on who's going to be playing quarterback for the Colts. That's a different story for a different day. But we have seen on multiple occasions teams with uncertain situations play really well week 1 because it's like, hey, we're gearing up for this one game and we win this one game and then the rest of the season kind of goes off the rails. But that is going to be a very supercharged atmosphere week 1 at Indy. And then you look at their schedule, and I know they get the Patriots early in the season at home. That is always an advantage. So I always put a check mark or a big yellow sun next to the early season games in Florida that are outdoors. You give, I would say, at least a half a point to a point edge to a team like Miami getting New England at home in September because they're going to be on the shaded side of the field down there in Miami Gardens, and New England's going to be on the sunny side of the field. And if you've ever been in the South Florida area around September time, I think sticky would be an understatement is how I would describe the humidity. Then they go to Buffalo on a short week. Then they play the Jets. So weeks 2, 3, and 4, divisional opponents. You lose that game to Indy, and then you start off the division. Let's give them 1-2, and your season is 1-3 to start, and you're 2 games behind the 8 ball in the division. Whew, not a great start. And then let's go to the back end of the schedule because that is when things always get rocky for the Dolphins. Why? Because you go outdoors in cold weather. They're at the Jets week 14, at Pittsburgh on a Monday night the following week, and then they close the season week 18 at Foxborough. That is 3 outdoor cold weather games from week 14 on. I mean, you're talking about a bookend there that could be really tough at the beginning and then bitter cold at the end. I do not like the prospects of Miami to have this outstanding season. The vibes are one thing, but then you look at the schedule and you also, I would say, have to downgrade them a notch.
Who do you think is the beneficiary of a Dolphins like just disaster season in that AFC? Because obviously Buffalo, like, I think regardless of whether the Dolphins were good, bad, and different, like, I think a lot of people think the Bills are going to have a really good season. Their win total is like 11.5. They're expected to win a lot of games. But amongst the other 2 teams, New England, who I think a lot of folks are excited about, Mike Vrabel now there as the head coach, Drake May year 2, Stephon Diggs. When he's not on the boat, Stephon Diggs can still be a productive player. And then you have the New York Jets, where Aaron Glenn, where, there's a lot to rebuild in Florham Park, but still, that defense has a lot of talent, and Aaron Glenn, a defensive-minded coach. Like, between the Patriots and the Jets, who do you think is the beneficiary of a potential disaster season for the Miami Dolphins?
That's a very good question because I think it's really hard to determine of those 2 which is the better. My gut says Jets because that's the team that nobody expects to be good. Right? Like if you take, like New England's favored in, I think 11 out of 17 games. We think New England is going to be better this year. I'm not saying I'm buying New England, but I think the general consensus is maybe too much consensus. New England is that second team that we expect to ascend with Drake May this year in the AFC East. So if you were going to ask me, the Dolphins have a chance to be as high as, I'm not going to say 1. The ceiling for Miami is 2. The floor is 4. We all kind of think the Jets are the bottom feeder in that division. So if Miami is now the bottom feeder, I think the Jets would be going from the cellar to not the cellar is, I would say, a pretty positive expectation there for New York.
The New York Jets win total sitting at 5.5, juice to the over, but 5.5. So not a high bar for that team to clear. Like 6-11, you win your bet. Like it shouldn't be asking for a whole lot. But Justin Fields is the quarterback, and so far in his career, he's been a walking turnover, and that is what loses people games. We'll see if he can cut down on the turnovers in 2025.